What's up guys, Ryan here, Fly Fish Iowa. A question I get a lot here is what exactly is fly fishing? Well, for my friends from the Western United States or maybe the Northeast, you probably grew up around fly fishing. However, a lot of people in the Midwest, they grew up around fishing but not necessarily fly fishing. Fly fishing is a very specific type of fishing. It's where an angler chooses to use an artificial lure or fly that represents some form of insect, other macroinvertebrate, or even a smaller fish. And while the origins of fly fishing are a bit murky, fly fishing today is a way to present small and or very light artificial flies to fish without having to use a bunch of extra added weight. So think about if you're using a spinning rod or a bait casting rod and you want to get your lure out into the water. You need to have enough weight on your fishing line to properly load that rod like a slingshot and then launch it out into the water. But if you put a tiny artificial fly on your spinning rod, it wouldn't have enough backbone to actually launch that fly out onto the water. Fly fishermen utilize fly line, which is a weighted but usually buoyant type of PVC coated nylon or braided line that ends up helping load that fishing rod. Now, fly rods are also typically much longer than a spinning rod or a bait casting rod. Fly rods generally are around 9 feet in length. So when a fly line is shot behind the angler and then propelled forward, it basically is able to load that very, very long rod, and that fly line adds the mass needed to load that rod and then launch that little tiny fly out onto the water. Fly line is super thick, so how exactly do you attach your fly to the fly line? Well, that's where a leader comes in. A leader is a 7 to 9 foot section of monofilament that you actually attach to the end of your fly line. Tapered from a real thick section at one end to a very thin section at the other end, typically in the 3 to 10 pound range. Once you get to that thinner section of the leader, that's where you can tie your little fly on. So choosing the right fly for fishing depends on your target species, but there are 3 main categories of flies. A dry fly or a surface fly imitates something that actually was flying or jumped out onto the surface of the water. A wet fly or a nymph represents something that lives below the surface, typically an insect. A streamer represents a larger insect or even a bait fish that is living and swimming below the surface of the water. Fly fishing is a great way to go about targeting fish. After all, most fish eat insects, macroinvertebrates, or some bait fish species. So shoot us an email, give us a call if you're interested in learning how to fly fish. Iowa's a fantastic place to learn fly fishing. Tight lines, hope to see you on the water.